All right, he's a billionaire with considerable influence, and if you want to parlay any shot at getting to the White House, he's a friend you want to make. And believe me, all the leading Republican presidential candidates have been trying to make this fellow their friend, their buddy, Frank Vandersloot. He was very instrumental in making Mitt Romney the Republican nominee and almost getting him over the top. This time he has set his sights on one Marco Rubio. Why Rubio?
Well, I think Marco Rubio has a tremendous advantage over the other candidates. He's not only really bright, but he's a student of the issues, both domestically and in foreign relations.
He's a very good debater.
He's a great debater, and his approach is one that's he's a friendly debater. He lays out his facts in a way so he invites those who disagree with him to see it the way he sees it, or at least analyze his way of getting to his position and buy into his position and get on board with it. And I think that that is particularly to his advantage and to our country's advantage, to the American people's advantage, when you're talking about the future president of the United States or a candidate.
He's very simple and clear. You know, I remember when we did the Fox Business debate and researching the time the candidates have been given in prior debates. He actually gets in the lower half of time on stage. When you think that might surprise people, but it's what he makes of that time.
Indeed. He says more in less time than any of the other candidates, and he knows his material. It's not like he's
But what
shooting
brought
from the
you
hip.
to him? Obviously, all the candidates wanted your support. I mean, there was Jeb Bush, and there was Ted Cruz, and there was John Kasich. You could make an argument, Chris Christie. I'm sure they all knocked on your door. What closed the deal for Rubio?
Well, we thought we ought to answer two questions before we could get behind anyone in particular, and that is, who would make the best president? And number two, who would be the most electable? And we entered into those questions. We took a long time answering those questions, vetting these candidates, but we thought we might end up with two different answers, two different people. In the end, that we were fortunate we ended up with the same candidate.
I'm told the other one you liked was Carly Fiorina.
I like Carly Fiorina, and to the degree that I think she would have been a great president. I think that she had a good grasp of both domestic and international affairs, but her message, she didn't maybe have the friendly factor, the likability.
It is interesting, right? Great debater, couldn't carry it over on the campaign trail.
She had her facts right.
Yeah, yeah.
Marco Rubio has a tremendous advantage over all the candidates, including Carly, I believe, in that he can articulate his reasoning and his position in a way that invites people to get on board.
You hope, right? Now, Donald Trump, hearing this, and it hasn't happened yet, I haven't heard or been following what he's been saying today, I'm sure he's going to say, with someone like you behind Rubio, Rubio is bought and paid for, and Donald Trump, no one has to buy him. No one has to have undue influence over him. You say what?
Well, Donald's going to say what he's going to say. He's going to say whatever he believes is going to be to his advantage to get elected. I think he has got a good track record of that. He's a marketer.
He's leading in all the polls.
He's a great marketer. I like his sound bites. I might even
But there might be something to that, right? If you have so much money, like a guy like you don't need to get money from other people, right? So if you have that kind of money, there's a term for that, but I won't repeat it here, and that's what Donald Trump feels that he has that a Marco Rubio would not.
Right. Well, Marco Rubio doesn't have a history of using his position in politics to his own financial advantage. I think the fact that I think he has the lowest net assets of all of the
So you
candidates.
weren't troubled by, remember the dust up over his finances and bills and everything else?
I think he's done particularly well for himself, given where he started out, and I don't recall exactly what his net worth is, but it's, it's a few $100,000. He's 44 years old. He clearly didn't use his position in politics to line his own pockets.
And you didn't ask anything of him?
Of course not.
Right.
Of course not. I personally think that would be wrong to do. I think that if you had any smarts, you wouldn't do that. I just want a good president.
Why are you committing when other big money guys like Sheldon Adelson and the Koch brothers are not? They're really keeping their powder dry, and I don't understand why they're doing so for so long.
Well, I have many friends who are waiting out to see who, kind of gets the lead before they decide who they're going to cheer for.
So they want to go through a few primaries?
They do, and some of them do.
No one's committing money prior to
I think that
the
some
caucuses
are. Some are. I think it's particularly dangerous to wait to see who's going to win the game before you start cheering.
Yeah.
I think you should start cheering when you can still impact the outcome, especially the fact that we have had several cases now, several past elections where the Republicans have had a nominee that just couldn't win the general election. I think that should be a sign to us that we should
They
we
haven't
should get
very
behind
good at
somebody.
grabbing defeat from the jaws of victory. Let me ask you, we were chatting very briefly. You were targeted by the IRS again and again and again, exonerated again and again and again. And now the whole investigation of the IRS overdone, nothing but no there. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it was particularly interesting and perhaps egregious that President Obama...
What happened to you?
He put me on his list of 8, as what the Wall Street Journal called his enemies list. I was particularly perturbed that he put me last on the list, but I was number 8 on his list. And I wondered at the time whether that meant that his agencies were going to come after me personally, or whether a target had now been pinned in my back. I'm sorry?
You were audited then?
I was audited, yes. We endured 4 audits within the next just few weeks. The first audit came within 3 weeks.
And you were completely exonerated?
Yes.
In the clear, nothing was wrong?
Yes. No, we
no one
had to wait 2 years for our deposit.
The IRS got away with all of that.
We had to wait for 2 years to get our refund from the IRS, but no, the audits went through. They were tedious, they were deep, but we didn't owe the IRS a single penny.
That's a pretty big deal. You think about that. That's using the weight and resources and power of the greatest and most feared tax authority on the planet to go after an individual, and they got away with that.
Well, we weren't afraid of an audit, but it's a tedious thing to go through.
But my only point is you survived. My only point is that, man, oh man, they got away with it. The IRS got away with it. Nothing's going to happen to Lois Lerner. Nothing's going to happen to any of these guys.
That is interesting, isn't it? That our nation has digressed to that point where now no one trusts the federal government. That's changed a lot in my lifetime. I think in your lifetime. People don't trust the federal government anymore.
Do you think if Marco Rubio became President Rubio that he should pursue the IRS? Not for you, but to say you cannot do this.
He surely shouldn't do it for my sake, but I think that you send a message to all of the agencies that you make the appointments of those agencies, and I think that we need a president that is not vindictive, is not going to punish his enemies, because we're all Americans. We're not the enemy. I think that it was Hillary Clinton who said the enemy are the Republicans. Well, we're Americans. We cannot be the enemy. Reach out to all Americans. If you're the president and if Marco Rubio becomes president, I know that he will.
Yeah, but
reach out to everyone.
They all speak about how we're going to kumbaya, and it never works, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, if somebody actually reached out, I think it would work well. The problem is they say they're going to reach out, and then they don't. And I think Marco Rubio will. I think he has already, and I think that will become apparent in the campaign. People will join Marco Rubio's campaign because of he's analyzed the facts. He has looked into the situations. He knows what he's talking about. He'll articulate his arguments.
If Donald Trump became the nominee, you'd support him too. Boy, your face turned ashen.
that would be scary, wouldn't it? In my opinion,
I don't
think.
You don't think that's going to happen?
I surely hope it doesn't happen. I do not believe that this nation will get behind Donald Trump. I think the polls indicate that now, and I think they will continue to indicate that. I do not believe that
he does well in the polls. They're all roughly.
He's doing well in the polls now, but we're a long ways from election, and I think that will die off.
All right, Frank. Very good seeing you, Frank Vandersloot. We will see. The race is on, though, for guys like that.